Almost everyone on Earth has seen the same image of the Titanic, that enormous black bow rising out of the deep ocean darkness, with the railing curving around the very front of the ship, the exact spot where Jack held Rose at the edge, and she spread her arms and whispered that she was flying. It is, without question, the most famous shipwreck image in all of human history. But when a team of scientists returned to the Titanic and aimed their cameras at that exact railing, they saw something that stopped them cold. It was gone. A 15-foot section had torn away and collapsed onto the ocean floor below. The Titanic, as the world has always pictured her, will literally never look the same again. And that heartbreaking discovery was only the beginning. Because scattered in the darkness of the debris field all around the wreck, the team found something that had been lost for 112 years. Something almost every expert believed had vanished forever. To understand why this single expedition sent shockwaves through the world of deep-sea exploration, you have to travel to a place almost no human has ever seen. The wreck of the Titanic lies nearly 400 miles off the coast of Canada, resting on the floor of the North Atlantic Ocean at a depth of roughly 12,500 feet. That is more than 2 miles straight down into crushing darkness. The pressure down there is so immense it would instantly crush an ordinary submarine. Sunlight cannot reach it. The water sits just a few degrees above freezing. It is one of the most hostile, most unreachable places on the entire planet. The ship sank on the morning of April 15, 1912, after striking an iceberg on its very first voyage, dragging more than 1,500 souls down into the dark with it. For 73 years, its final resting place remained a complete mystery, lost somewhere on a vast, featureless seabed. Then, in 1985, a team led by explorer Robert Ballard finally found it, and the haunting images they sent back burned the wreck into the imagination of the entire world. Ever since, scientists have made the dangerous journey back again and again to study it, photograph it, and try to preserve whatever they can. But this most recent visit was unlike any that came before it. It was the first expedition to reach the wreck since a tragedy shook the entire world of deep-sea exploration. The year before, a submersible called the Titan had vanished on its way down to the wreck, imploding in the deep and killing all 5 people aboard, including a legendary explorer who had visited the Titanic nearly 40 times. So when the research team returned, they sent no humans down at all, only robots. For 20 days, remotely operated vehicles drifted through the freezing darkness, their lights cutting through water that had not been disturbed in years. They captured more than 2 million images, the highest resolution photographs of the wreck ever taken. They swept the entire site with lasers, sonar, and magnetic sensors, building the most complete map of the Titanic and its vast debris field ever attempted. And as the data poured back up to the surface, the team began to realize that the wreck had changed in ways that no one had predicted. The first shock came when the robots reached the bow. The railing, the very same railing immortalized on cinema screens around the world, was missing a piece. A 15-foot section on the side of the ship had broken free and fallen, landing in a single intact piece on the seafloor directly beneath where it had once stood. As recently as 2022, that railing had still been attached, though it had already begun to buckle and weaken. Sometime in the years since, it finally surrendered to the ocean. The image the world has carried in its collective memory for decades is now gone, permanently, forever. But the loss of the railing revealed something far more unsettling than a single broken piece of metal. The truth is, the entire ship is dying. The Titanic is not simply resting at the bottom of the ocean, it is being eaten alive. Across nearly every inch of its hull, strange, icicle-like formations hang from the metal, colored like dried blood. Scientists call them rusticles, and they are not just rust, they are alive. Years ago, researchers examining these formations discovered something extraordinary. The rusticles are built by living colonies of bacteria, at least 27 different strains of microbes that have made the wreck their home. Hidden among them, scientists identified one entirely new species of bacteria, a microbe never seen before anywhere on Earth. They named it Halomonas titanicae, after the doomed ship itself. And this bacteria has one single appetite. It eats iron. It is slowly, steadily, tirelessly devouring the very steel of the Titanic, digesting the great ship and returning it to the ocean one microscopic bite at a time. The implications of this are staggering. Researchers have warned for years that the structure is collapsing from the top downward. As one layer disintegrates, it crashes onto the layer beneath it, weakening that layer in turn in an unstoppable, accelerating chain. One scientist who has studied the wreck for decades once predicted it would last another 30 years, then revised her own estimate, warning that it was deteriorating even faster than she had believed. Today, most experts agree that within a couple of decades, the recognizable shape of the Titanic may be gone entirely, collapsed into a heap of rust and dust on the ocean floor. This is exactly why these expeditions feel so urgent. The clock is running out, and it cannot be stopped. And yet, in the very middle of all this decay, the team found a miracle. On the very last day of the expedition, with only hours left to spare, the robot's cameras caught a flash of something in the sediment. Lying face up in the darkness, perfectly intact, was a 2-foot-tall bronze statue of Diana, the Roman goddess of the hunt. It was the Diana of Versailles, once the glittering centerpiece of the ship's first-class lounge, mounted above the fireplace mantel where the wealthiest passengers gathered to drink and talk through the nights. When the Titanic broke apart and plunged to the bottom, that grand lounge was torn wide open, and Diana was ripped from her pedestal, thrown out into the chaos of the debris field. She had been photographed only once before, back in 1986, by the very team that first discovered the wreck. But for decades after, her exact location remained a closely guarded secret, and over time, most experts simply assumed she had been lost forever, buried or destroyed in that hostile deep. Finding her again was, as one researcher described it, like finding a single needle in an enormous haystack. There she lay, after 112 years in absolute pitch-black darkness, still beautiful, still whole, as if she had simply been waiting to be found. That single discovery carried a weight that reached far beyond science. For some, it was powerful proof that the Titanic is not just a wreck. It is a grave, the tomb of more than 1,500 human beings, and it deserves to be left undisturbed in peace. For others, bringing Diana back up to the surface so that the world could finally see her with their own eyes was worth any risk at all, a way to keep the memory of the ship alive long after the wreck itself has crumbled into nothing. Both arguments are right. And that tension is precisely what makes this place so deeply haunting. Think for a moment about what these discoveries really mean. The most famous shipwreck in history, the one we all believed was frozen in time, is actually vanishing before our eyes. The very bacteria that is consuming it was unknown to science until it was found clinging to this exact ship. And a bronze goddess, lost in the abyss for over a century, somehow survived it all, only to be rediscovered in the final hours of a robotic expedition. Every single journey down there now carries the same bittersweet message. We are watching the Titanic disappear, and we are racing against an invisible enemy to save its story. So here is the question I want to leave you with. If the most documented, most photographed, most famous shipwreck in all of human history is being quietly erased from the ocean floor, how many other lost worlds are still out there right now, decaying in the dark, waiting for someone to find them before they are gone forever? I want to hear what you think. Drop your answer in the comments below. If this story moves something inside you, share it with someone who is fascinated by the mysteries of the deep. And subscribe, because the next discovery we uncover might be the one that changes how you see history forever. Until next time, keep diving, keep wondering, and never stop searching for what lies beneath. I am Arif Hassan, and this is AH History.